Hello dear students, welcome to a new TV lesson for fourth formers. My name is Budgie and today we're going to see lesson 7 of unit 2 entitled Lifelong Learning. This lesson has been prepared in collaboration with Mrs. Karima Sharif, the teacher of English, and under the supervision of Mrs. Ma'ada, the inspector of English. Okay then, let's get started. So first of all, let me share with you our main objective for today's lesson. So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to write a speech about lifelong learning. That's why I advise you to concentrate till the end, because writing a speech requires a certain structure. And of course, at the end of the lesson, we're going to check whether we managed to reach our terminal objective or not. So what to expect in this lesson? All right, there will be 3 parts. In the first part, of course, we're going to see some testimonials about the topic at hand. Then we're going to go deeper into the topic and we're going to see some videos. And then in the third part, we're going to deal with the writing task. Okay then, so now let's start, with the first part, which is testimonials. Okay. So, first of all, I would like to ask you this question. What are some of the most important things that you have learned in life? Here we talk about in life in general. We are not just talking about school. Okay, think about it. What are some of the most important things that you have learned in life? All right? So, some of you might say that they have learned how to participate in voluntary work, since it is something very important, and as a responsible citizen you need to help the community that you're living in. Some others might say that they have learned how to take care of themselves. Okay, so here, especially with the situation that we are living in, the outbreak of coronavirus and all the constraints that we need to pay attention to. Still others might mention that they have learned how to live their lives to the fullest, but of course here in a responsible way. For me, for instance, I can tell you that I've learned how to travel. For me, traveling is crucial, very important, because it allows us to discover other cultures, habits, and even practice some different languages. So here, basically, we've been talking about learning. What is learning then? How can we define learning? Think about it. I'm sure that you have the answer. All right then. Learning, as I told you, is not limited to school. We can learn from our life experiences. We can learn from the circumstances that we are exposed to. In a word, we can learn everywhere and anywhere. And here, if you wish to make the difference between the formal education that we take at school or at university and learning which happens throughout our life, we can say that education is related to school, learning is related to life. So here, I would like you please to try to join these 2 parts into one sentence by using suitable linkers. What can you say? Please look at the sentence and these parts and think about it. What do you think? Actually, we can say education is related to school, whereas or however, learning is related to life. Because as you've noticed here, we've got the idea of contrast. And these 2 linkers are used to express contrast. And here, I'd like to draw your attention to something. Here is the punctuation, because it is very important. There are different ways, here there are some differences, in the way we punctuate each of these. For example, as you've noticed here, with whereas, you don't have to put commas. But with however, when it is in the middle of the sentence, you need to put a comma before it and a comma after it. Of course, there are other linkers of contrast, all right? Can you name some? Okay, For example, we have despite, in spite of, even though, on the contrary, and like. But here we just chose two. We want to show you the importance of punctuation here. Now, let's move on to some testimonials. So our first testimonial is by the famous Italian sculptor, architect, and painter Michelangelo. He says, "I am learning at the age of 87. What can you understand from this? By this, Michelangelo means that we can never stop learning. Even if we get old, we keep learning all the time." Okay, so now let's move on to the second testimonial. Okay, this testimonial is said by the Indian spiritual leader Krishnamurti. He says, "There is no end to education. It is not that you read a book, pass an exam, and finish with education. The whole of life, from the moment you are born to the moment you die, is a process of learning." So here, as you've noticed, we've got the same idea repeated. Here we talk about how learning is a process that can never stop, as Jiddu Krishnamurti mentions here. It happens from the moment we are born to the moment we die. So, from the cradle to the grave, we keep learning all the time. So, here, these two testimonials deal with the topic of lifelong learning. Remember, that's the title of our lesson. What do you mean by lifelong learning here? And what's the form of this word? It's an adjective. Great. So here in the word lifelong, we have two familiar words. Lifelong. What do you mean by that? Actually, lifelong means something which lasts or continues throughout our life. For example, if we want to describe a friendship which lasts for a long time, we can say, or we can describe it as a lifelong friendship. And here, our topic today is lifelong learning, which means learning from the moment we are born to the moment we die. All right, now we move to part 2, which is viewing. So here, bearing all that we said about learning in mind, and now we're going to dive deeper into the topic by watching some videos. So what I would like you to do is to watch the video carefully and please tick the most suitable option. The video focuses mainly on the A, benefits of lifelong learning, B, limitations of lifelong learning, or C, definition of lifelong learning. Ready? Watch it carefully, please.
Meet Carl. Carl just graduated from college and started a new job, but realizes he wants to keep learning new skills in an academic setting. Carl to go back to school, but is overwhelmed by all the different subjects that he can learn. With all the new information available and even more new fields emerging, Carl decides to pursue lifelong learning. Lifelong learning can best be described as the ongoing pursuit of knowledge for professional or personal benefit on a completely self-motivated and voluntary basis. Lifelong learners realize that learning should not be limited to childhood and classrooms, but should be employed throughout life and in a range of situations.
All right then. After watching this video, did you manage to find out about the main idea that we focused on? Sure you did, I'm sure of that. So the video focuses mainly on the great definition of lifelong learning. And here, as you've noticed, the whole video was trying to define the concept. And if we would like, to give a definition inspired from the video, what can we say here? So here, I invite you to watch this extract from the video and complete the definition with the missing words. Ready? Let's watch together.
Lifelong learning can best be described as the ongoing pursuit of knowledge for professional or personal benefit on a completely self-motivated and voluntary basis. Lifelong learners realize that learning should not be limited to childhood and classrooms, but should be employed throughout life and in a range of situations.
All right then. Okay, I guess you found the answer, didn't you? All right, so the video tells us lifelong learning can be described as the ongoing pursuit of knowledge for professional or personal benefit on a completely self-motivated and voluntary basis. So lifelong learning here as described as an ongoing pursuit. So what do we mean by the word ongoing? Okay, let's explain it. Here, as you've noticed, it's an adjective which means continuing or in progress. So here, again, we've been talking about the same topic from the beginning of the lesson here. Okay, we've been talking how lifelong learning is an ongoing process. It is an ongoing pursuit. So what is meant by the word pursuit here? Okay, notice that it's a very important word. So pursuit is an uncountable noun. Of course, here you are provided with the phonetic transcription and the stressed syllable because it's important to pronounce the words in English correctly. So it means here the act of looking for something. And I know that you are familiar with the verb. What's the verb from the noun pursuit? The verb here is to pursue, and we can collocate it with one's studies. We can say to pursue one's studies, which means to continue one's studies. So let me read it again. Lifelong learning can be described as the ongoing pursuit of knowledge for professional or personal benefit on a completely self-motivated and voluntary basis. So here, lifelong learning is something voluntary. You do it because you would like to do it. Nobody is imposing this on you. It stems from your own determination to learn new things. So here, as you've noticed here, okay, this is the definition of lifelong learning. Now, let's move on to talk about the benefits of lifelong learning. So what are the benefits of lifelong learning? So your task now, you're going, okay, to complete this pie diagram with the missing verbs. In the pie diagram here, we're talking about some of the benefits of lifelong learning, and please try to finish each of these benefits with the suitable verb. So here, as you've noticed, in each bubble, you're given some letters that can help you. Okay, take some time to think about it, and then later on, we're going to check together. Okay then, the first one says, all of us for our entire lives. What do you think the verb is? Great. The verb here is prepare. So lifelong learning is needed to prepare all of us for our entire lives. So lifelong learning has the merit of preparing us for our entire lives. So what about the second one? Okay, I guess you found the answer. Yes, it's create. So lifelong learning is needed to create equal educational opportunities for everyone. So here, lifelong learning gives access to educational opportunities for everyone, regardless of their nationality, their gender, or their social status. So here, it opens horizons for everybody. And we mean by that lifelong learning fights illiteracy. So here, notice, this is our third verb. So lifelong learning fights illiteracy, combats illiteracy. And what about this word illiteracy? You've noticed also that this word is very important. You need to know its meaning, because sometimes you can use it as a key word in the topic of your exam. So what do we mean by illiteracy? So here, you've noticed that in this word, we have a negative prefix. So the opposite word is, right, literacy. So what do we mean by literacy? Literacy here is the ability to read and write. Illiteracy is simply the inability to read and write. For example, we can say a literate person, if you need to know the adjective, a literate person or an illiterate person. Okay then. Let's move on to the last one here. It says livelihood and well-being of all people. Maybe some of you didn't manage to find the appropriate verb here, maybe because they didn't understand these words, livelihood and well-being. So I'm going to explain them to facilitate the task for you. So here, what is meant by livelihood? So livelihood can be a countable or uncountable noun. Again, you are provided with the phonetic transcription and the stressed syllable. Okay, livelihood means the source or means of earning money in order to live. So we can say that it's a living. For example, their main livelihood is fishing. What about well-being? Well-being is an uncountable noun and it means the state of feeling healthy and happy. So what do you think the verb is? I think that things become easier. All right, great. So the verb here is support, yeah. So lifelong learning is needed to support livelihood and well-being of all people. So if lifelong learning prepares all of us for our entire lives, creates equal educational opportunities for everyone, and it fights illiteracy, so it goes without saying, and here we can say that lifelong learning, is going to support our well-being and it will make us have a better life here. All right? So, we talked about the benefits of lifelong learning in general. Let's be more specific and let's talk about lifelong learning for working adults. All right, so here I invite you to watch the second video. And while watching it, please, I would like you to take some notes about the advantages of lifelong learning for this category of people. I mean, working adults. All right, ready? Let's watch the video.
As the world continues to move forward, you don't have to be left behind. Continuing your education as an adult can provide many benefits to your career. Job security is one benefit. Understanding new skills related to your career field will help you maintain employment. Continuing your education can help with emerging positions at a new or old job. By learning skills needed to succeed in your desired position, you will prove that you are ready for the new responsibilities. The job market is constantly changing and unfortunate events such as company layoffs are always possible. Being talented in different disciplines will allow you to broaden your horizons when looking for employment if your current job is unsatisfactory or if you simply need a change of pace.
Okay, we're back. So that was a short video in which we focused on the advantages of lifelong learning for working adults. Okay, what about the first advantage here? Yes, we have ensuring job security. This means that lifelong learning helps working adults to keep their jobs. What about the second one? Learning new skills. Okay, so here this second advantage is related to learning skills, which means that lifelong learning help working adults to get promoted, to have better jobs, and of course to have better salaries. What about the third one? The third one is related to the previous ones, and here, as you've noticed, lifelong learning, helps adults, broaden their horizons, and of course they're going to have a lot of opportunities thanks to the new skills that they acquire, right? And of course here you need to add other information, right? So here I advise you to bear in mind all the advantages mentioned here, because later on we're going to use them in our speech. All right, now let's sum up. I would like you now to study the following proverbs and tick the ones that refer to lifelong learning. So let's read the first one. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Do you think that this proverb refers to lifelong learning? Do you think that this proverb encourages people to pursue their studies? Of course not. On the contrary, it's a kind of trying, to discourage people from trying to improve or boost new skills. So are we going to take it? Of course not. It's irrelevant. Now, let's read the second one. Seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. The cradle here is the bed of the baby. So if we would like to paraphrase it here, what do we mean by that? By this we mean that we need to keep learning all the time, from the moment we are born to the moment we die. And this idea is implied by the use of these two words, cradle and grave. So here you've noticed that we've been talking about this idea earlier, and we mentioned this at the beginning of the lesson. So here, learning from the cradle to the grave means that we learn from the moment we are born to the moment we die. So are you going to take this one? Of course, we are going to take it. All right. What about the last one? It's never too late to learn. This proverb is in contrast with the first one. In the first proverb, it's a kind of saying that people are unable to learn new things when they get old, all right here? But on the contrary, in the last proverb, it is said that we can learn, anything at any time. So just it depends on our determination, all right? So here, are you going to take it? Yes, of course, we're going to take it. All right, here. So I advise you, dear students, to try, to memorize some proverbs and some sayings and some quotes, in order to support your arguments here. All right, and maybe I will tell you a quote in this context, lifelong learning. So you will find a famous quote said by Aristotle on page 95 in your textbooks. The quote is, "The fountain of knowledge will dry up unless it is continuously replenished by new streams of learning." So it's important, and it is in the context. I'll repeat that. Aristotle said, "The fountain of knowledge will dry up unless it is continuously replenished by streams of new learning." So here it is advisable, to memorize, these proverbs in order to make, more arguments more convincing. All right? All right then. And then, we reached our third part, which is writing. So I hope that now you are well prepared to deal with the writing task. So let's have a look at the topic together. The topic: on the occasion of the International Day of Education, you are invited by the local Women's Association to deliver a speech to a group of aged ladies. You decide to encourage them to continue their education by focusing on the benefits of lifelong learning. Write the text of your speech. Okay then, I'll give you some time to read it on your own before we move on to identify the key elements that will help you start writing your speech. Take some time, and then, we will come later, to check the elements of the writing. Step. You know, whenever you have a topic, especially in the exam, you need to read it many times to be able to understand it very well. Then try to underline the key words that will help you identify the key elements. By this, we mean the genre. So the genre of our topic here is the speech which will be delivered on the occasion of the International Day of Education. So here, you're going to deliver the speech on the occasion of the International Day of Education to an audience. Here, the audience, as it is mentioned in the topic, aged ladies. All right, so here, you're going to deliver the speech on the occasion of the International Day of Education to the audience of aged ladies. Okay, who are you going to address? The audience, here is the aged ladies, all right? Here, you should think about the style. So here, if it is addressed to aged ladies, so the style is not going to be informal, because you are not going to speak with a group of friends or a group of teenagers. You're going to talk to aged ladies. So you need to be a bit rather formal in order to convince them to pursue their studies. All right, what about the purpose? Why are you addressing these aged ladies? Actually, you are addressing these aged ladies to encourage these women to continue their education. And remember that we saw some of these arguments when we dealt with the exercise of the spidergram, and when you watch the videos about lifelong learning for working adults. Remember that? All right. So here, now that we have identified the genre, the audience, and the purpose, here you need to move to the body of the speech. So here, as in any piece of writing, there are three parts in the speech in general. The first part here is the introduction, and in the introduction there are certain elements or items that you need to include them in the introduction. The first one, greeting the audience. Here the audience, of course, are the aged ladies. All right? So how are you going to greet the audience? You can say, for example, hello, dear ladies, something like that. Then, after that, you are going to introduce yourself, of course, because you are not going to be someone who is anonymous. They need to know who you are. And then, at the end, you're going to state the reasons behind your invitation. Why are you addressing these women? All right? So this is the introduction. Let's move on to the body. In the body, of course, you have to start by asking questions. And you know pretty well that this is a good technique to try to catch the audience's attention, especially when the question is a bit intriguing, a bit challenging. So it is always advisable to start your speech by asking a question. All right? Then, so after that, you need to encourage these ladies to pursue their studies by stating the benefits of lifelong learning. So here, you're going to show them why is it important for them to pursue their studies. So here, you need to enumerate the benefits of lifelong learning for them in particular. All right? And of course, you have to use some arguments, and you can illustrate these arguments by using some examples. Actually, you can state examples from our daily life, or from other examples from well-known people in general, or anything that can make your arguments relevant and more convincing. All right? So here are some examples. All right, the first one. Writers never stop writing even when they grow old. As you've noticed here, it's a general example. If you want to be more specific, here you can tell them the story of the lady who succeeded in the back exam at the age of 50. So remember that all of us, we like stories. Who doesn't? So by telling a story in your speech, you will make your audience more attentive and more willing to hear what you have to say to them. All right? And the last part here is the conclusion. In the conclusion, you need to wrap up the speech and take leave. And in order to structure this in a coherent way, here you can use some closing remarks, and then you can thank the audience and wish them good luck. And at the end, you just take leave by saying goodbye. All right? So these are the three major parts of our speech: the introduction, then the body, and the conclusion. And remember that in each part we need to include some items, okay? Bear this in mind, please. Just by way of preparing you to write a better speech, I would like to share with you some tips. The first tip here, you can use the superlative, because this is going to impress and convince the audience, something like the biggest choice, the most important decision. Okay, then use expressions for encouragement, like all of you present here have the potential for enormous success. If I hear that, I myself, I'm going to be encouraged, and I'm going, okay, to do whatever you ask me to do, okay? In other words, I'm going to believe in it. Now, let's move on, okay, to the third tip. You can use expressions to give advice, like my advice to you, I highly recommend you to, if I were you, I would, you had better, but please without saying you must here, because it is not really an obligation here, you see. So, and if I'm the listener and I hear something like you must, you have to, or if I feel that someone is imposing this on me, I'm sorry, I'm not going to carry on listening, to be honest. That's why it is better to use softer ways, okay, when you give advice, all right? Okay then, other tips. Don't forget to use the appropriate punctuation marks and to capitalize when necessary. Yes, that's very important, because some of you would say, so it's a speech, so I will deliver it orally. But don't forget, dear students, you're going to write the text of the speech on papers. So please try to pay attention to the punctuation and capitalization, all right? Okay, next. Here, it's important to use linkers and connectors, and in order to make your speech coherent and cohesive. So you can use linkers like this one. If you want to explain things, you can use in fact. If you want to cite the advantages or the drawbacks of something, you can use linkers of addition, like besides, moreover, furthermore, on top of that. Or you can use linkers of sequence, first, second, third, and so on. Okay, so it's a good way to organize your ideas, right? Then you can use, okay, linkers of results, like consequently, therefore, thus, for all these reasons. All right? So here, in a nutshell, these are the tips that I want to draw your attention to, and I'm sure that they're going to help you in writing better speech. All right, now, I think that it's time to write your first draft, but before that, we're going to see a sample written by one of your friends here. So what I would like you to do here, I would like you, okay, to go through it, read it, and while read it, please try, okay, to make sure that all the items are there. Which items here? Of course, here you're going to use the speech writing checklist. You're going to check whether all the other parts and all the items are included, okay, in the speech of your friend or not. If sometimes you find that there are some parts that are missing, try to think about them in order to restore the balance of your speech. All right? So let's read our speech writing checklist. So, of course, you remember the first major part is the introduction. In the introduction, we have certain items. So these items are greeting the audience and introducing oneself, mentioning the setting of the speech, and finally, stating the purpose of the speech. Then, we move to the second part, which is the body. In the body, make sure that your friends use these items. Quoting an influential figure, asking questions to catch the audience's attention, listing the arguments or ideas. Of course, here she's going to mention the benefits of enrolling or registering at university, citing examples from daily life or other, using at least one quote or saying, and then giving advice. Now let's move on to the last part, which is conclusion. Please make sure that your friend, okay, use some closing remarks. Make sure that your friends thank the audience and took leave, all right? So now, please, you're going to do the work. So please use this speech writing checklist and try to check it, right? Okay, then. Okay, so now let's check. So let's start by the first part, which is the introduction. Here we have greeting the audience and introducing oneself. Did your friend greet the audience and introduce herself? Okay, let's check. Okay, so she greeted the audience by saying, "Dear ladies, warm greetings to you all." But I don't think that she introduced herself. Did you think about something? All right, here maybe I can say, "My name is Miriam Ahmed and I'm an activist for women's rights." So this is the missing part. What about the second part here in the introduction? Mentioning the setting of the speech. Did Miriam do that? Let's check. Yes, she did. In this event organized by the ambitious Tunisian Women Association to celebrate the International Day of Education. Yes. What about the last part here? Stating the purpose of the speech. Did Miriam state the purpose of the speech? Let's check. Yes. She said, "I'd like to share with you some thoughts on why it's important to pursue your studies." So here we have a complete and a convincing introduction. Let's move on to the second part, which is the Budgie. We have quoting an influential figure. Did she do that? Yes. Yeah, she mentioned Martin Luther King. Yeah, I know they know it. Martin Luther King once said, "I have a dream." Remember that famous speech? Next, asking question to catch the audience's attention. Did she ask a question? A challenging question, an intriguing question. Let's check. Yes. So let's read the question. Have you ever dreamt of pursuing your studies and getting a diploma? Yeah, thank you, Miriam. It's a good question. Next, we have listing the arguments or ideas. Here, of course, we're going to talk about the benefits of enrolling at university. Yes. She started by, here, notice this paragraph. It started by "in fact." So here she made the capitalization, she used "in fact," and after that she used a comma. So there are many, in fact, there are many benefits to enrolling at university. Not only will you get a higher degree, but you will also develop your skills and broaden your horizons. Besides, it is gratifying, which means satisfying, to feel you are an active citizen, no matter how old you are. So here, notice here, she said, "In fact, there are many benefits to enrolling at university." What do you call this sentence? Remember, sometimes when you write paragraphs, the paragraph is composed of, okay, the topic sentence, then supporting details, then concluding sentence. So the sentence here is the topic sentence. So in fact, there are many benefits to enrolling at university. So what do we expect here from this first sentence? We expect that Mariam is going to talk only about the benefits of lifelong learning. So thank you, Mariam, for using this topic sentence. So here, let's see the benefits that she mentioned. The first one, get a higher degree. Great. Develop your skills. Great. And broaden your horizons. Very good. And then she added another argument by using a linker of addition besides. Okay, yeah, well done. So here, let's move on to the other element, or item, citing examples from daily life or other. Did Mariam cite examples? Let's check. Yes. She mentioned here, think of how many a writer have come to prominence in their late 50s or 60s. So this is a general example. And she used another example. She was specific here. She told us the story of her mom. Let me tell you the story of my mother. And remember the role of the story when you insert it in your speech. It will make the audience more attentive. Great, Mariam. Right. Then let's move on to the other item, using at least one quote or saying. Once you stop learning, you start dying. Personally, I totally approve of it. Okay, of course, learning is crucial. And personally, when I stop learning, I start dying. Yeah, I believe in it, actually. So here, did she give advice in a softer ways? Let's check. All right, yes. My advice to you is to dare make your dreams come true. Yeah, so here, again, we have a complete and a convincing body. Let's move on to the last part here, which is the conclusion. In the conclusion, we have the item of closing remark. So, did Mariam use it? I don't think so, because she started by saying thank you. So, let's think about a way, okay, to use closing remarks. Maybe this one? What do you think? I hope I made my point clear and that you are all ready to get back to studying and learning, right? So here, okay, we added the missing part to restore the balance, remember? Then the last part here is thanking the audience and taking leave. Yes, okay, she did that by saying, thank you very much for your attention. I wish you all good luck. Goodbye. Okay, that's it. Now, Mariam is going to deliver the speech to the audience of the aged ladies. Let's wish her good luck in convincing them, all right, to pursue their studies. Now, that was Mariam's work. Now, I would like you to do something similar, all right? Try, please, to include all the items and all the techniques and all the things that we saw in this lesson, okay, in writing a speech. So, this is your speech. This is your turn, of course. The speech is, you are the representative of a local organization that supports young people to be lifelong learners. On the occasion of the National Day of Knowledge, you are invited to deliver a speech in an event for recent university graduates. Your mission is to sensitize them to the importance of seeking opportunities for learning and acquiring new skills in different fields. Write the text of your speech. So here you can take some snapshots with your mobile phones and try here to write your first draft. Exchange it with your friends online, of course. Try to edit it and correct the mistakes by using the correction code that you will find it in your textbooks on page 15. Take notes. Okay, on page 15 you will find the correction code, all right? Then you can hand it to your teachers, okay, for feedback. And with this we have reached the end of the lesson. And remember that I told you at the beginning of the lesson that our terminal objective, our main objective is to write a speech about lifelong learning. So now let's check what you are able to do at the end. So by the end of this lesson, normally you should be able to talk about the benefits of lifelong learning. Also, you should be able to write the text of a well-structured speech. And don't forget that we saw these new words: lifelong, livelihood, ongoing pursuit and well-being. And please try to use them in your writing in order to make it richer, right? Okay, I hope you enjoyed the lesson here. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye for now.